Okay, so I swear I'm just having a hard time getting back on my Twitter. And the whole past week, I only did a couple of Sky ones, but I swear it's to go in and then I get like my allotted 250 views. It's like, it's not much motivation. Like you go on, and I get way less here, but it is the games that they play. It is aggravating because you know they're just playing games with you. So it's very aggravating. And I was like, fuck, I don't know. I have anything to say. The same 200 people I talk to every day. Just tell them again and again and again. It's like, fuck. So I don't know. It's like my like soul or something is pulling free from TikTok. It feels like, I don't know. I gotta see how this all goes. This whole thing is just so, it's so different because, you know, all my life I was living a spiritual life, but it was like I was living a spiritual life in a place that wasn't spiritual. And then now it's switching and it's going in this other direction, but it's so new. It's like it's learning, you know, for everybody, because we weren't getting to live in a spiritual place. So I don't know. It's just different. Like there's so many weird things happening that are so another level. And somebody, I think Tyrone asked me, I might have names wrong. I'm horrible with names, and a name will come in. So if I say someone's name wrong, it's ever since my brain. Well, I was bad with names before. I can't even blame it on that. I've always been bad with names, but I've always been really good at remembering people's faces and stuff. But that got messed up. I can't remember, or it isn't like I can't remember. And there's something weird because I had seen it in a movie a long time ago. And then after it happened to me, that movie came back to me. I was like, oh, that is what has happened to me. It is in the movie, she got a brain injury from something. I don't remember. But pieces of people's faces kept scrambling. Their faces wouldn't stay the same. And that happened to me. And I noticed it like when I was doing tattoos, especially. Like if they weren't looking at me, that every time they turn and look at me, it was a different face and it was freaky. And so anyways, but I used to be good at faces. I used to kind of creepily, you know, I could remember anybody. I'd go up and start talking to them and they'd have no clue who I was. It got to be like some awkward times because I could remember people so well. And, but yeah, names aren't my thing. And I even, like I've said, even the beings, you know, that I talk to, it's never been a name thing to me. It just is like, I don't know. It's always been a thing to me. Like names are so insignificant. Like it is, I don't know. I mean, look at people can change their names. We got people. There's this, I don't even want to talk about some of these people. It just seems like you're just bashing them or something. Like people are just very, it's kind of like there's just so many people are just so lost, but they're like struggling to find themselves. But it's like everybody's looking in the wrong room. But things will flip and, you know, they'll get a better, the universe will open up in the direction they're supposed to go, because the looking in the wrong room is part of it. It's part of what you got to learn. It's part of what each person has to learn. When I was just talking to Vortex this morning, she was saying, you know, what a great weekend she was having too. And I know she's been following me for maybe since the very beginning. And, you know, she's really been working on her healing journey as well. And, you know, and has been in some uncomfortable situations with her family. Just to, you know, all of us, every single family has divided. If you haven't had some uncomfortable situations, then you guys might not be talking about things. Like, you may need to have some conversations so you can see where everybody stands. If no family members are talking, that is very much not showing that they feel safe. And so that's some things to overcome right there. And, but a lot of them, you know, they get into a disagreement and there's so much wound that the soul or the being, I like being, the being carries, that they are, it is raw. It's like they don't know how to they don't know how to get out of the hole that they get themselves into. And they don't even realize is the hole's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they're just like, you know, it's kind of like doing all toxic coping skills, kind of. And you don't know how to stop. It's just like, it's so toxic, but you don't know how to stop because you don't know, there's nothing else for you to, you have no other bank to pull from. You have no other reference material, you know. It's like, it's important for each being to have a huge library of information for themselves, and to also access and be aware of your soul identity information, the information that you carry. And I think people have such a hard time aligning with what they feel on the inside with what, and trying to please others on the outside. Like, they don't want to just go with how they feel because they worry, like, well, that could offend so-and-so. Well, that could make somebody mad. That could do that. You know what I mean? And it's super important to get to that point of vulnerability where you can feel like, well, you know, maybe nobody will agree with you, but that's okay because you feel it on your inside. You're going with what you feel inside. So you're bringing that to the table. It's like you're offering to the universe, you know, your truth. And your truth is powerful. You know, there's a reason you have your truth. But you got to get comfortable with your truth. You got to get comfortable with you and who you are, and not feel like you're doing anything wrong. And then there's so much to overcome right now. So, you know, I'm just saying, like, all the different things is about having awareness. So you know where you're at in your journey and what you need to be working on, and have all this, it is like looking out, like having big windows on your car so that you can see, you know, so that you can see what you need to work on, where you need to stop, where you need to go, you know, like you need to be able to really see. It's so important. You know, they want to keep people's minds closed. And every time you feel your mind closing or shutting to try and please somebody, you got to, you know, immediately access to that area and, you know, start asking yourself the questions, you know, why am I reacting this way? Why do I feel this way? You know, what do I need to overcome here? What am I trying to look at? What am I not seeing? All whatever questions that you have, you know, and you know, when Vortex said in the comments, you know, she had a great weekend. I think that there's, you know, I feel like so happy. I mean, there was some definitely, you know, some big, you know, intense moments over quarantine, you know, with the disagreement over things. And even my one daughter, who's been such a proponent, like a pop, you know, that there was a conversation, I swear to God, I thought it was with her. I've had so many fucking conversations. I can't even tell you. This week has been just so crazy. But the thing is that my point is that I think that there's a lot of people who've got themselves into such like a toxic, you know, it's they've all drawn lines in the sand, and they're sitting there waiting with their weapons, you know, for this person to cross. And you have to let down your guard too. It doesn't matter what they think or how they thought or anything. What is the most important thing? It is the peace that you find. I mean, it has to do with the healing. Like, don't kid yourself. Look, this has to do with your healing. This is your obstacles to overcome. This is you championing you in relationships and you healing you and stuff. So there's purpose to this. Don't think you can just skip it and be like, oh yeah, well, fuck that. I'm not worrying about that. No, these relationships have things, and the directions that you guys have taken them has to do with other past lives and stuff. It is like people get stuck in these cycles, and you're trying to break cycles, and so, but you have to have awareness of it. But how, you know, I think there's a lot of people who have so much intensity right now that, you know, their family members are waking up, but there's so much arguing and so much ego involved. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's, you know, coming back together. They're not getting to, you know, find out what this person knows. And, you know, they need the forgiveness to get going on, you know, to just, like, I did not, anywhere in my heart did I feel, like anger, resentment, vindictive, or any of this stuff about the information. I mean, when she was like, Mom's been saying that forever, like, I get so excited, like, oh my gosh, they heard me when I said it. They have been listening. The whole thing is that you got to realize that when you're not awake, that this place fucks with your head, man. And time fucks with your head. And, you know, the whole thing is such a deep programming. So you can't just be like all mad. That's part of your growth. That's part of you beginning to understand, so you have compassion and empathy for the other souls. So you can see like, oh, okay, well, you know, they just didn't see yet. And so, you know, you being the one who's ahead of them in this scenario, you're the one who has to like look back at it and be like, you know, I don't want to be hard on somebody because they couldn't see what they couldn't see. And I don't want to be an impatient person. Like, you should have done, you know, you got to get yourself into, you know, what you want to be. What is it you want to put out in the world? What kind of person do you want to be? And then what is the formula to create that person? You know, if you want to be somebody who's just, you know, angry and impatient, and, you know, judgmental, has a huge expectation, everybody has to be perfect except you, you know, that is for you to recognize, you know, and then be comfortable with that. And more than likely, that is the personality type who's not going to go forward, because that isn't the energy or the vibration of unity, consciousness, or love. And, you know, it's not the age of Aquarius. Oh, you know what? I heard that song while I was gone. It was funny because I hadn't heard it in so long. And I guess my phone wasn't marrying up with my car. I had to keep listening to radio stations a lot. And one of them was like those old kind of songs, but the Age of Aquarius, but had a whole thing about when Jupiter meets Pluto or Mars or something. I was like, I could go back and listen to that. But I don't know astrology that well. And you would think if there was astrologers, that they would be singing something, but I don't know that they are putting that together. There's a lot of people who have this piece, that piece, a couple of these pieces, but they don't put them all together. And because it's so different, it's so hugely different to be thinking that this world is where we're headed. I'm still listening to a bit. Hold on. She's something. Hurry up. Come on. All about Stella. From the second I get up, I swear it's like I've got so much stuff to just do for her. Like, she needs this, she needs that, she needs she wants to go out, then she wants to come in, and she wants this treat, and then she wants that, and then she wants to eat. I was like, oh my God, Stella, can I just sit down and drink my tea? It's like I gotta just go before I even am awake. I already had one cup of tea, but I still don't feel awake. And it's weird because, no, I think I went to bed pretty late. I was pretty pumped up. Like, you know, I still feel just super excited. And, but I don't know when I went to sleep. I laid down on the couch and I put on the whatchamacallit. And then I was like, I'll just lay here. Because I've been sleeping on couches all week. And I was just getting so sore. So I was like, oh, it'd be nice to sleep in my bed. But then when I went and pulled my bed sheets down and stuff, then I got all stuck on the earwigs, because then there's earwig infestation somewhere. And when someone behind someone's bed, but then it's like, oh my God, the earwigs, and they're getting your ears, and I keep feeling things in my ears, and the goddamn spiders come down, and kind of fucking. I went on TikTok for last night. I again just saw a few TikToks, and this morning again just a few TikToks. And it's so redundant. And every time I go on, it's something with parasite. That's your ass. And I'll tell you another thing is, if you remember back when last year when I went to the med beds, and I said the only time I've ever seen anything come out of me that I thought looked like a worm was then. And it was really unexpected because it was a year ago. I mean, I did some detox before I went, but, you know, I didn't see, you know, I heard of little kids, you know, out playing in the dirt, and then they go in and eat, and then they get pinworms. And it's so funny because somebody was just saying, oh, dirt won't hurt you. And I was thinking, well, that's how you get pinworms. But, so anyways, but I knew that the toilet would fill up with worms because I'd heard it. Like, it's creepy because when your kid has pinworms, they go to the bathroom and the toilet's all full of worms. And so I was like, ugh. So, but none of my kids ever had that. I don't know. I was probably paranoid, made them wash their hands all the time or something. But, I think, so then, and see, a lot of the parasites, I think of being microscopic, but like we have full-on fucking worms inside of us, like full-on goddamn worms. And it's like we eat larvae and then they hatch like our fucking inside. Like, oh my God, it creeps me the fuck out. Really creeps me the fuck out. Like, this stuff gets in my head and it's like, oh, okay, this is where I gotta work on this shit. And this is where I gotta keep pulling back in, like, okay, we're not real, this is all my hologram. I don't have worms inside of me crawling through my guts, eating my fucking insides. Like, I picture those fucking earthworms out there digging around through the dirt. Ugh. Man, inside our bodies the same. God, ugh, so sick. But the two worms that came out of me, which they were dead looking things. They looked like flat. I mean, they didn't look like they were dead. And I don't know, maybe they're flat worms. Fuck, I don't know these motherfucking shit. So they were long and they had like the coloring, there was something weird. I just never seen anything like it. It was definitely not, you know, regular going to the bathroom. And it wasn't, it was like I wiped and then that was there. And I was like, whoa, God, whoa, man, that is so fucking creepy. But that was last year and I don't know what they are or if I've got more of them or any of that stuff. It makes me paranoid just because of I've always got sugar cravings. I've always had sugar cravings ever since I was a kid. I've always been, you know, a sweet person, like over there, sweet and savory. I've always been a sweet. Like, I get up and eat cinnamon toast for breakfast and chocolate milk ever since I was a little kid. And so both these videos I saw this morning looked exactly the same as those things. And both of them, one of them was a parasite cleanse guy, and he was showing a picture of the thing that somebody sent them that came out of them. And then this other one was a girl who had done it, and she was showing a picture of the thing that came out of her, and she said immediately she felt better because she was having a lot of stomach issues. And you don't know, like, there's so many stomach issues you can have. It's hard to know. I mean, nausea. Like, I get nauseous if I don't go. That can be one. So, like, and you know, where are these things living inside of us? Ugh. Damn, this is so gross. God, I got to get back into the, like, I'm a hologram, I'm a hologram, I'm a hologram. There's not worms and bugs and spiders and earwigs inside of me. And all these little things I feel crawling around. And it's like, oh, God. It makes me think about these movies where I've seen where there's one, it was really weird. And this girl was like in a hotel or something. I think the movie was supposed to be their druggies who were losing their mind and they thought there was bugs on them. And I don't remember the whole thing, but it was really creepy. I don't know if they start digging at their skin, but a lot of those people start digging at their skin when they think they have worms inside of them or something. And, or not even worms, just bugs. But now knowing about like all of the things, like we got the morgues, we got the, and when I was at my daughter's, her foot was killing her. It was just all of a sudden, her foot was killing her. And she's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what the hell I did. And she kept saying, it looks like a spot, a black spot with the thing. I was like, maybe it's a planter's wart. And she's like, how did it go so sudden? She said, it's like I stepped on something, like a piece of glass or something. I could feel something in there. And so, you know, I was driving her crazy. She's digging around in there and digging around in there and trying to find. And her foot's just getting worse and worse. And so then, like the second day I was there, she's digging and she pulls out this thing that looked like a piece of, it was like a hair kind of, but it was shiny like a piece of metal. And it had another little colored thing. And so she got it out and she's like, look, this was in my foot. And I was like, oh my God, that's so weird. Like, you just must have stepped on like a shard or something. And so, you know, she's going and it was worse. When she got up yesterday morning, her foot was way worse. And she's like, there's got to be something else in there. I just can't get it. I can't get in there. So she went to the urgent care yesterday morning. And then she sent me a message I got when I got home. So when she went in there, the guy was digging around and he goes, well, I can't find anything. And she goes, there's something in there. And it made him keep going. And then he pulled out one thing. She said that was really weird. She had no idea what it was. And he goes, well, you have a corn in your foot. And she's like, it's not corn. I've stepped on something. And so he kept going and pulling, you know, and digging around on there. And so finally he got the thing out and she said, I don't even know what the hell to even say what it is. She said, I could feel when he pulled it, it felt like something was coming out of my arm. And she said, but I don't know what the hell it could be. And she said, it definitely wasn't something natural. And she goes, I don't know, maybe the aliens, she said this, she goes, maybe the aliens have put a tracker in me or something, like kind of like a joke, but still like, what the hell is going on? Or maybe I said that first, I don't know, when we started talking about that. And so then, so when she sent me that message and it said that, then I said, maybe it is a tracker. And she said that, I was trying to think how that conversation went. I remember her saying about the alien thing, tracking her. And then the next day she said it again about, and then I had said, maybe there is maybe you are being tracked. And she said, well, I hope not, unless it's aliens. But that made me think, like, I mean, she didn't get any of these. So, but fuck, like they could be putting this stuff like, and so then if you get one of these like nanobot things, can it go through your body? Can it land and end up in your foot or something? Like, I don't know. I mean, she's still so weirded out. I'm weirded out. Like, how do you get this weird little thing in your foot? There's no open way to get it in. You didn't step on anything. You didn't cut your foot. You never saw any injury in your foot. But all of a sudden you have this weird little metal thing that you got to pull out. And you can feel it way up here. I don't know. I don't know. Like if everybody starts all of a sudden pulling shit. But how would we know? If everybody's going to urgent care and having shit pulled out of them. How would you fucking know? Like, man. Like, that's so weird. Like, this stuff is so weird. I don't even... And, you know, things are really going in a more positive way. Like, my one son-in-law is just sold an expensive painting. And he went in that direction. Everybody I know is wanting to go in this direction. Everybody is really motivated, and it's part of the awakening. So everybody's got... He's actually taken this step and started doing it. And... you know, stopped doing his job and just started relying on side jobs and just directing his energy towards just doing his art full time, not doing anything else but his art. And then he sold an expensive painting. And so as I keep telling people, you've got to keep directing your energy. Even if it doesn't make sense, you keep going in the direction that you want. And you got to keep trusting. And things it is your lessons. And so you may have things that go real wrong. You may be really broke. It may keep pushing you back to that dependency, back to fear. But it's your own things to overcome. It's your own journey, and it's inside of you. So you don't need to worry about what anybody else is saying outside. Like, I'll always give people support. Yeah, that's the direction to go. Focus on your skills. Oh, yeah, my granddaughter did too. My granddaughter did the same thing. Yeah, she has, and they were talking about, they think that she's going to go and try and find an apprenticeship for tattooing. She's my tattoo stuff. And then she bought more of her own and stuff. And so she's been doing lots of tattoos. And she's really, really good. And so she was looking for that. And then she also makes jewelry. And she was like a manager at a pizza place. But so now she quit her job. She saved up a bunch of money. She quit her job, and she's just going to pursue her. And that is what everybody needs to do, even if you don't have a bunch of money. And I was telling my other daughter, but she's feeling that pressure. You know, our check just pays the rent, any single thing. Like, what do we do? And it's like, you know, there's something about the trust of just going that direction and just taking the chance. Like, you know, like, I'm not paying my house. And, you know, I mean, I'm taking a chance. I'm trusting the universe, you know, and I'm giving them an opportunity to show me, like, everything's going to be fine, Kelly, don't worry about it. So, you know, and I trust them, you know, it's just the way that the information and stuff that they always bring it to me, and how they've always communicated with me, that it has built trust. So, you know, and even if I were to lose everything, then it would be for a reason. It would be for something better. Like, I know that now. So, but you got to let go of things in order to go forward. But anyways, I forgot to say, I guess, so Tyrone had asked me something about if I had, you know, if my partner is spiritual or whatever. And I'm single. So I've been doing this, like, if you haven't been watching for very long, I have been doing, like, all quarantine, all of that stuff. And I've been isolated by myself. And, you know, a lot of the stuff that I talked about is about, like, isolate. It's about changing the way you look at things. Not feeling like I'm isolated, like, that I don't have anybody. Like, I could go out, like, you know, like, I don't even like to even acknowledge it, really, because of the factor that it was created to age us, and I don't want to participate in that game. But and it's a lot of reprogramming, you know, so it's a lot to keep yourself, to keep remembering, okay, we don't have to age. This is a game. This is part of the thing. And so, but anyways, that's going to be, you know, sweet. But that is another one too, because, you know, one of my son-in-law's birthday was last week, and he, they had moved and they don't have friends there. And so that birthday was really, really hard on him because he didn't have a friend group to celebrate. And so it was kind of just like, you know, and those kinds of things, you know, as you're younger and those things start to happen, you just start feeling like, oh my God, I'm getting so old. And go out and party like you know, all my friends don't gather around to do shots with me and all that stuff. So, you know, I can get being in your 30s and being disappointed that you don't have people to celebrate you with, especially when you've attended other people's birthdays and stuff. But part of my thing as I was going through this is getting to that point of, like, why would I need it to be a day that's just about me? Why do I need to have this celebrate? You know, I'm kind of just putting things into perspective for myself. And so it was part of my whole thing. And so this will be my third birthday completely by myself, and not, you know, I'm not worrying about, I mean, it's not like I feel sad or anything. I think the first one, it wasn't like I felt sad, but it was way more challenging, especially because it was I think it was my 60th. I remember I turned 60 by myself, and that's supposed to be, you know, big one where everybody comes and celebrates and all that stuff. And it was just like, I don't want to be somebody who needs that. I don't want to be somebody who has to have everybody in order to feel good. You know, I want to learn how to feel good just in me. I want to learn how do I feel good And I started noticing a lot of things is about expectation and how much expectation people put on things and people and situations and stuff. And a lot of expectation leads to disappointment. And there's something about directing your energy into a positive way, but then also not to just build expectation up to be disappointed. You know, the universe is going to play things out in the way they play things out. And so if you focus too much on the details, then you can lead to disappointment, which is a huge challenge for me through this situation I've been going, because, you know, there's more things going on in mine than just, you know, having my birthday by myself, or being in isolation, or, you know, learning to work out in my living room like it's a cell of a prison. You know, it was just a lot of things where I started just looking at like, well, you know, it's just change your idea. Like, you know, the couch is a good thing to exercise off of. Now you see all this whole wall workout. Like there's a whole workout where you just use the wall. So, you know, I mean, a lot of people, you know, started figuring out like, well, what do? You know, if you're locked down and you need to move around and exercise. Like, I know, you know, some people, it was like a split right there. Some people just went in and put on their pajamas and turned on TV and ordered DoorDash and never got off the couch for until they were allowed back outside. And then they were just like feeling bad about themselves. But a lot of those people then turned around and took control of their lives. So see, that falling apart part was good for them, because then they saw themselves and they saw what they needed to do. There's a lot of people who did some huge weight losses after the first letting us go out. I don't remember even when that was. This is so bizarre, isn't it? It is weird. Like, this whole last... It's funny because it's going to be, you know, mankind's story. Like, I do wonder what we're going to be called. I don't think we're going to be called human beings anymore, I swear. I think that... I don't know. I just don't think... There's something that's going to be changing, I think, about it. Well, they are trying to change it themselves, because they were the ones who said people couldn't be called human anymore. So, because they've changed the stuff. So, if the Anunnaki created the humans, and then these scientists and the Dracos and reptilian people are the Greys, like, I don't know who all's involved with the industrial complex of control of us. But if they messed with the original humanoid to create their dependent speed, they're trying to create like droids, you know. And it's sad when you can look around and see that it's like, oh, it didn't take them that long to do it, huh? God damn, we got droids all around us. Just empty shells of people. Empty shells of people who jump onto a template too. Like, man, so many people just want to all be the same. I don't understand, you know, why there's so many men who want to be like, because it's not even just transitioning. Like, a lot of the people aren't transitioning. They're just cross-dressing. They're just, you know, and maybe it is a part of their finding themselves. You know, maybe some of these men don't know how to get in touch with their feminine side without dressing the part and playing the part. Maybe they're just way too caught up, you know. And I don't know, through the toxicity of men and what they've had to go through, if, you know, so many of them are in fear of that feminine side of themselves. You know, if they were shamed and beaten and slapped, if they weren't, you know, boyish and manly and all that stuff. And so, you know, it's hard to know, but it's definitely something that I've noticed. Like, so many men are cross-dressing themselves, like, through, I don't know, it's got to be something with accepting themselves. I don't know. so much of this stuff, you know, we got to just see how it plays out, because we're in this story right now. And it is the story of what we're becoming and what we're leaving behind. And maybe the human concept is very contained. And maybe that is why the Anunnaki is coming back, because of this interference. But it's the hand of God, because that's about the energy, because they were going so far. But there's nothing that they, like, I feel like people think that, oh, they can keep going as far as they want. They can just go, go, go. It's like, no, they can't. There's natural order. It can't go that way. There's natural order. There's cosmic cycles. Like, things could play out so far. But then there's a pendulum. That energy has to go back the other way. That it can't just go, go, go in one direction. It has to go the other direction. But there's a purpose to it going all these directions, because it is the development. It is the learning. It is the growing. And so there's purpose to all that stuff. But people, like, when they talk about it, yeah, and some of these people are just going so far deep into this Jesus thing. Like, oh my gosh, this is like, oh. And man, some of these people, they, like, if you talk about something, like, I could just expect like, if I had more than 200 views, probably I would be getting these people coming on to duet me and stitch me so that they could tell me, you know, how I need to find the Lord. You know, I'm making a huge mistake. And so, you know, the people are all just going all in on their stuff, man. But now I'm all over the place, because I wanted to finish saying about the partnership thing, because a part of my my journey, what I've been talking about, is before I started my channel. When I started my channel, it was like the beings that talk to me, that the frequency, the connection I have, whatever it is, they were putting pressure on me to talk about publicly, to say things. And I had, like, right over here, is a whole stack of journals that I had been writing. And then I was going to start putting it into a book. And it was, like, super tedious. But they had been putting pressure, because it was already in 2018 or 2019. I think it was 2019. At the beginning, I don't know, 2018 or 2019, the summertime, where I started to try and do a YouTube channel, because I was like, all this stuff. And it was like, when I was going out and trying to figure out, like, you know, what's going on? Why am I the only one who can see, like, this world is three-dimensional? Why is everybody else, like, what is it? It's weird, too, like, when you start seeing it, it is like, kind of like, how did you not see it before? I don't know. It's so much like you're looking at something and then all of a sudden it looks different. And, you know, mine, it just was so three-dimensional looking, everything. And just like yesterday when I was driving, and it looked like I was driving in a postcard. It was so weird. It was really trippy. But, you know, that started back in 2016. I mean, I've got to think when it was I started seeing stuff in three-dimensional. I started seeing stuff in the sky, like, around 2016. 2017 was when I got triggered from this other person. But it was like I already was through certain parts. It was like I had to already go through certain healing things and then get myself in this other vibration before I could even recognize this person. And it was like a soul recognition, because I had seen them before, but it was like I didn't know them. But then all of a sudden my soul was like, oh no, you know them, and started showing me things of how I know them. And it's very trippy. It's very like where, you know, like you start feeling like, am I going crazy? Like, what the fuck is going on? And that was in 11/11/17, which I was already seeing those numbers. And now, you know, having those numbers, like, go to that person's house and that's their address. Go, it's the person, the same numbers as their birth date and stuff. It was like so weird when you keep having these things. It's like, and I'm not somebody who goes, oh, that's coincidence. I'm somebody who's like, oh, there's a sign here, there's a sign there. Like, I know they're communicating, but it's not always like you know what they're saying. But so in my journey, it's been not just like, a part of mine was to speak my truth, to use my throat chakra. So that was in the beginning of my things, when I started having to speak and speak my truth. It was really hard. And so that was something that was always something I was supposed to overcome. Like, me doing this isn't just me doing this. This is a part of my journey. This is a part of me becoming me, and how I'm finding myself. And, you know, throughout, like I said, everything was like 20, because I moved here. No, because I moved. Okay, so it was 2018. Oh, yeah, it could have been 2017, because it was. No, okay, so 2017 when I got triggered, because that was November. Then, so yeah, it was the next year, 2018. And so I was already going out and I was already doing all that. Yeah, I was really on this, like, trying to find out more about the physical part of spirituality, I guess. Because I was learning more about the Reiki, the chakras. I found about Dolores Cannon. I met up with that group that did those big mass meditations, and they all talked openly about the aliens and stuff. So, you know, and these people, like, just come to you, like, you know, when you're going in a certain direction, it's the path is there for you. It isn't, you don't have to do anything. It starts coming to you. The path's set. And so all these different people start coming to me. And when I was looking, and back then when I woke up, the only person, there was 2 people who I had seen. And one of them was, I think his name is Aaron. And he was talking about waking up back then, and what he had gone through. And so his awakening was a couple of years ahead. But then throughout this time, like, I quit watching him and stuff because he got too caught up in what he was doing and didn't continue working on himself. And that is, you know, a huge distraction, where people get all caught up in their ego and get caught up, like, and that's part of the journey. To me, what I see, you know, he got caught up in the being popular and something, and then he slacked off. And then I heard people talking about, you know, then he was just kind of using other people's information and stuff. And it's important to, through this healing thing, because the whole thing is about authenticity and being real. So it's about talking about your journey and what you go through, so that people, it is not like copy you, or it's like they create their own template for their own healing journey, because each healing journey is very unique. But it gives you tools. It's like you listen to different people and gives you tools. Sometimes it gives you confidence. Sometimes, you know, because it's very confusing when you're going through this stuff. And because you're breaking so much program, you're programmed to not believe any of this stuff. So it is, you know, there's a lot to go through and endure and challenge yourself in this growth process. And so but in mine, there was like going and listening to different people, where I was like, or I started, you know, I was in learner for, I think, for all of my life until I got to where I started talking about my stuff. Then that put me more into teacher. But, you know, I spent a lot of time in learner. But definitely, that was a motivation. When I would hear people talk about things that was like, that's not true. That isn't accurate. Like, especially about reincarnation and stuff. I think a lot of people, I don't know, they read Wendell Lawrence Cannon book and they feel like they're an expert or something on reincarnation. And I feel like you need to look more into it. Not just read the first book and think you're an expert. Like, you just need to look into it more. But her stuff is very, is very good. It's very accurate. But I don't know. There's just something about the ego where all these people just want to jump in and be the teacher. They want to jump in and be the expert. They don't ever want to be a learner. It's like, I want to, I want all the information. And then, but you got to trust your inside information. But it's like, but when people don't have control over their ego, then, and if they don't have discernment over the voices. I had a conversation with my granddaughter because I drove her 2 times. One of the times when she was driving, she wasn't talking or anything. I think that she just gets sick of hearing everybody's voices. When you're a teenager and you just have people telling you, what you need to do, how you need to think, and all that stuff. Everybody's just up your ass all the time. And so I think she was just like, I don't want to listen to grandma. And so, I just didn't talk, and we just drove, and I took her to her sister's, and on the way home, she seemed more interested in talking. And so, she's the granddaughter who, when she was little, my daughter was worried she was schizophrenic. And so she took her to the psychiatrist, but the psychiatrist said, no, she's just gifted. She's not crazy. And so, she's always been talking to them, like me. And, but she's always had a lot of dark. There's always like a lot of dark. And to me, as a soul being, you would think that those are your challenges. Like those kind of like, if you think of yourself as an expert, like if you, to me, the visual I see is like an expert volleyball girl standing out there at the net. But then all of this the distraction, the things trying to block you so you can't make your shot. But you still want to show you're the best at being able to make your shot. Doesn't matter who gets in your way. You are a champion. That's kind of like the same kind of energy to me as when the dark comes in. It's like, and they'll kind of be like, oh, if I hide over here, what if I say this and I do this nice? Will she notice me then? And so, but it's up to you, every person in their own discernment, to walk themselves through the conversations that are going in, the processing what is happening in here so that you are understanding. It's not just a big old lump of a bunch of noise. And so I asked her, about what were they saying? And they were telling her a bunch of negative stuff. I think a lot of them, there's a lot. And when you are getting bombarded with negative, you just don't realize. A lot of people don't realize. I told her, you got to take control. I said, right up here, this is when you're thinking about, what your mom and stepped out, what they're saying, and, that's when you're working out that stuff. These conversations. It's up at the front where you're replaying. And then, to me, this space in here, it's kind of like right above your ears. And I see, like, if your third eye is right here. And so it is, because I try and think of, like, how it works. How you can hear, like, so much right in here. And it's trippy how it's, like, by your ears, but behind your pineal gland. And then, but the whispers, the ones you want to listen to me, are back here. It's like they're at the back of the room. It's like you got to recognize them at the back of the room, and that's who you want to hear, because those are the ones, and they've got to get through all of this noise. And that is this, like how I talk about, like, the remote control is interfered with the Wi-Fi. Why? There's interference. There's like a lot of noise. There's a lot of, and then when they put all this dark energy, so much dark energy, and there's so much dark energy, but it's also purging out of people, like free energy out there, because people are releasing their demons. They are letting go of things. And so that energy is out there. And so, it can get on you, and then it's carrying all the messages, like, kind of like, think about these dark energies as like the blob, and the blob just going around sucking up all of these people's energy and stuff. And so it's just becoming stronger and stronger. But see, it's not consciously aware of itself. It is a parasitic kind of energy. It survives and thrives off of living off of you, but it has the parasitic like host relationship, and it feeds your mind, and it creates energy outputs so that you're feeding it. And so it becomes reliant on you, and it also can be super manipulative. And so you've got to listen and pay attention. And so, I mean, to me, it was very distinct. They're different sounds. They're different spaces. Like when I'm looking around, like it's weird because it's like I can be looking out here and looking around, but I'm not seeing out here. It's inside. But I don't know how to explain it. But it is looking inside. Like there's different areas in there. Like I said before, it's like, to me, it's like Starship Enterprise. And it's like I'm in the middle. Like if you think about the pineal gland is, you know, what's his name? Captain Kirk. You know, your higher self. Your connection to your more advanced self. But you're in the game. And you have, you know, this energy of the game, and then you have the interference energy, and then you have the guides that are cheering you along. And so it is, the player on the field has to look up in the stands to find their people. You know, they got to look through, I mean, the cheerleaders, you know, and they're saying what you want to hear, and then going through the crowd to find your people. And that is the same as in your mind. And so when you're spinning out and thinking about what somebody's talking about and just spinning out around it, that is for you to capture and get control. That is, that's like the front part. And that is where you start questioning yourself, like, you know, and you've got to learn to let those things go. You got to learn to let go of situations that already happened. It's already happened. You already said this. They already said that. And it's done. And there's, you know, now it's time to let that go. You know, you should have said this and you should have said that. And you should have done this and you should have done that. But it's already over. So, and you already decided, okay, well, next time I'm better prepared because now I have more ideas of what I should have done. And then you let it go because you can't go back and you can't change that. So you just let it go. If you have this very big need that you have to change it, you can do that through a meditation. And you play it out the way you wanted it to go. And then you can, it might make you feel more peaceful. There's people that say that that helps them to find more peace. They don't feel the same stress. So you can play it out the way you want in your head. Because remember, this is your world. This is your consciousness. This is your experience. And so you can go in and change it like that. And then, you change your attitude, that can change the attitude towards the other person. But then, you know, depending on how much, you know, attachment you have to things and how open you are. Like you may not have a bunch of attachments. You may just be really open and you don't realize that you're hearing all of this universal noise. And, you know, so to begin to have the awareness and acknowledging the conversation that's going on in there and pay attention to it. And, you know, and that's another thing about questioning yourself. Why do I feel this way? How do I feel this way? And stuff. But then it's going past that is when you can get that stuff quiet, when you can get those things, you know, managed, you can start hearing the whispers in the back. And they're talking to you. Like sometimes they'll talk louder. Like if you're about to do something and they don't want you to do that, you know, you'll hear it loud. Don't do that. You know, or danger or anything. It all depends on, you know, how they talk to you. But they will scream out, you know, if it's something. And that is, you know, where somebody will stop and be like, wait, I don't want to do that, you know. But when you want to communicate with them, when they're just there to rescue you. And you want to be like, you know, why do I do the things I do? Why am I doing this? What am I here for? Who am I supposed to be? You know, all of those kinds of questions. When you want to talk to them about, that's when you got to quiet your mind. You got to recognize that voice that is there to help you, to catch you. You know, that is where you want to start listening and tuning in. It's like on the radio, you tune in the frequency, you know, and you start listening to what they're saying. And so, you know, that's just part of the, you know, learning how to manage the mind, learning how to have better communication with your guides and your higher self and stuff, so that you can be more productive in being on your path. Because it's, you know, it's confusing, because we feel like we need to go in and control things and move things and do things, and sitting back and relaxing and letting the universe do all the work is very challenging, you know. And in my own journey, you know, that is a huge part of my stuff that they've had me working on, is like, this person to trigger me all that time back. And when that very first started happening, you know, because I didn't know this person, and they started coming into my dreams, and I had, you know, I've had dreams before where people had come into them, but it was different having somebody come into it that you didn't know, but when they were there, all of a sudden you knew them. It was like, oh my gosh, this is so strange. And then they kept coming. They kept coming. The dreams were advancing. Like this was actual something playing out, but it wasn't in the physical. It was in this other realm. And, you know, I know what my guides have told me through it. There's a lot of it in those journals back there. And so, you know, going through it was, you know, I mean, it is part of my thing. It's part of this magnetism. You know, what they told and have showed me is about this healing. Like they've been showing me and telling me through this whole damn time. And, but the healing is what keeps raising your frequency, which naturally pulls this other being that is going, it's like you have somebody here, like you have people here all the time who are of a lower frequency. Your soul contracts. So you go around learning and experiencing so that you can grow. So you have all of these soulmates all around you all the time that are helping you to discover you, to grow and to learn and to understand relationships and all that stuff. But then you have also ones that are a higher frequency. And so they are for your advanced self. They aren't for this part where you're just trying to learn these things. It's more of an advanced, it's more of your grad school stuff. So you go through the learning part of the soul, but then you like graduate into higher frequency. And a part of the journey too, is I see a lot of people on their healing journey and they get all stuck on, well, I've got to go out and date now. I've got to go out and find somebody. I got to go and all that stuff. And to me, it's like, no, you don't have to do that. The universe will align you. It is a natural progression. Like there's nothing you need to do. And that has been a part of my challenge, you know. It's like I said, like this has been going on for a while. And I thought, well, as soon as that had happened, I thought I was about to meet this person. And so it has been this like kind of roller coastery, you know, through the thing. But I've, you know, learned a lot through it and understood a lot through it. But it is like, you know, as you're healing, you're raising your frequency. You're raising your bar. You don't have to go out and search to find, because that person who you are contracted with, the person you came in to line up with, they are also doing the same thing as you. So you guys are meeting each other's energy, even though you're not. Like that's, I already know because they've already come into my dreams and shit. Like I've already seen this shit. So you're meeting each other's frequency. And so it's a magnetism. It's a magnetic pull that pulls you together. It's not anything you need to do. You don't need to go out and search. You don't need to help the universe or anything like that. It is a natural progression. It will happen automatically. But it is also frustrating. You know, it's frustrating to go through because you don't know. And when it doesn't happen, you just keep thinking like, what am I doing something wrong? Am I supposed to be doing something different? And what I've seen through the thing is it's just more of you growing into yourself. You just keep going towards you and working on you and figuring you out and finding you. And it is, you know, it's great. Like just this week, you know, going out and like, I felt like the relationships were just so different. It was so cool how we were going into like these space bubbles of time. And it was, it is so cool. Like, cause you feel so, it is a different level. It is like, because you feel like close to the people. It feels like you're all in the same bubble together or in the same pool and having a fun time. And then you leave that pool and you go back out into the world. But in that pool where you're with this group of people, there's nothing else in the whole wide world. And so it is really, really cool. And I got to have that experience so many times over the past week. And so then I was like, okay, this is the energy. This is the energy on the planet that is becoming a part of our existence. This ability to go out and just go into situations and just be in the moment, in that situation. And, you know, go into it healthy, not overthinking and stuff. Like, I didn't get caught up in like, well, last time what they said, you know, and I'm not going to put up with that. I'm the mother here. Don't talk to me that way. You know, I don't get all in that. So to me, you know, I haven't said a lot of mean things. I may have said things that were mean to me, but I have the ability to brush those off and know that that's, you know, hurtful words are, you know, the other person lashing out, the other person being frustrated or whatever they're going through. So I don't have, like, when I told my daughter back in 2020, when I started talking about, they were lying about Trump on the TV, that was the big thing. Because, yeah, I was a progressive liberal. You know, I was anti-Trump. That was my whole thing on Twitter. Like, I would just sit and talk shit to him when he would do stupid stuff. I would go on there and say something. And, you know, I was just as hateful as anybody else. And it wasn't until 2020, you know, and it was because of my background in medical, I think. But there was a lot of people with medical background, but I would say they must not have been watching. Like, I don't know how you couldn't see it. So to me, everything was becoming so obvious. But it was, what got me was when I was seeing what he would say. I would watch the daily up briefing on our sickness. And then what my kids would repeat back to me that their news said he said. I'd be like, that's not what he said. He didn't say that. I started being like, they're lying. And everybody turned on me. It was crazy. I couldn't believe. Because I thought once people knew they were lying, that they would be like, what? Wait, they're lying? But no, everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody thought I was a liar. Everybody else then started calling me a racist. They started telling me I was a white supremacist. I had racism that I was unaware of. I mean, the most absurd shit I was being told. And so there was a point where I had said to one of my daughters, I said, you're going to feel really bad about a lot of this stuff. You know, when the stuff goes and turns, and this was in 2020. So they definitely did not know at all what I was talking about. Now they're starting to see, like, because my daughter's like, man, this daughter that I'm talking about, who works in the social services, because now all the things I kept telling her, what she was going to see with the people that were going to go on. And so she's seeing all that. And I was right about all of that. And so, you know, she can see that. So my conversations with her are, you know, more about like the people and what goes on and stuff like that. And, but see, she's not, spiritual is just new for her. So she doesn't really understand about spiritual healing and the significance. And it is important. Even if you go do psychological healing with a counselor, you're still going to have to break programming from that, probably. I mean, there could be some really good counselors, but a lot of them is like, they're off the book. And the books are written by people to manipulate you, to keep you not being your best self, you know. So you have to be aware of that kind of thing. So you'll still probably have programming you have to break. So anyways, but to me, when this person was introduced to me and started becoming a part of my, I mean, in the physical world, it's all like these signs and synchronicities and stuff like that. And, but in the spiritual, you know, once they were introduced to me and my guides started explaining to me stuff, then that became my person. That, like, I can't imagine somebody else. Like, I have no interest. It is like my soul recognized them and remembered, and it's like they remembered why they were here, like remembered they were supposed to meet up with them. And so to me, like, there's no going and being like, well, I'll just date or something. Like, no, like, your soul showing you that this person is your soul connection, love, or whatever, your match. That to me is like, it's a vibrational match. It's like they're my match. Then that I don't want to be with a mismatch anymore. I don't have more lessons like that to learn. If I'm supposed to be alone through this, then that's what I'm supposed to be doing, because there's some reason. I may not understand the reason, but there's a purpose. And so I'm not, you know, I'm not going to go out searching for a partner. I don't, like, I get offers, and I don't, it was like, I'm not looking for that, because I already have recognition. So no, it's just kind of just keep doing my things until our paths cross, until something happens, you know, and then that will be, you know, I'm on that other thing. And I don't know, like right now in my own, like, I'm still censored as shit. Like, the TikTok thing is so ridiculous. 200, it's so annoying. And so, and when I go on there, just, oh my God, there's people talking about the January 6th still. And then just, oh my God, the movie, the girl on the plane, the goddamn movie, fucking, and showing all this stuff, 10 Ballards. I really am on the thing of, like, Tim is not one of the good guys. I just don't think so. There's no signs to me that he's a good guy. And that movie has made so much money. And that movie should motherfucking be free. And oh God, it's so fucking annoying. People just, oh, they just are so, they're so tricked all the time. And they just, so, and it's all just a fucking game. Because there's not shit. The only thing they want to create sadness and stuff. But if they were telling the truth, they would have told about the politicians and stuff, and about the rich people. And it was the rich people who fucking paid to make the movie, and rich people who are a part of the Clinton. Like, no, bullshit. This is fucking, ugh. It's just gross. The whole fucking thing's gross. So, but, oh my gosh. Like, listening to people on TikTok, and them all, you know, oh, and look at what he said here, and he's so great. It's like, oh, God. I don't think he's great. I don't know about the Jen Caviezel thing. Now we got Mel Gibson. His thing was released or something. He's got all these videos. So everybody's just talking about that. And I don't know. It's just like, it's kind of weird on there. It's kind of like chaotic, kind of like flipping backwards. It's like, God dang. We need to change the conversations. We need to start, I don't know. There's just something weird about the whole thing. Let's all just talk about trafficking and sit back and wait for Jesus to come and solve our problems for us. And I don't know. To me, you know, this is your opportunities to solve your stuff for yourself, to be more advanced, not be reliant on somebody else to come fix you, save you, help you. It is you to learn to help yourself, to save yourself. And, you know, that is a part of what, definitely with my process, you know, that's why, you know, I said you're constantly growing, you're constantly changing. It isn't like that, even if, you know, you don't come into alignment with the person that they show you, because I think this has happened to a lot of people. I think it's happened to a lot of people, but that they are just kind of confused, because it is confusing. It is weird, because it is stuff that we haven't ever experienced before. But that is where you got to learn to trust yourself. And, you know, we have soul connections with people. We're connected on a deeper level through other lives, other experiences and stuff. It's not just all about this one. And, you know, part of the advancement of the soul is that soul, recognizing people on the soul level. And then there's like the whole thing with the trusting. Like there's a lot to this whole thing. Like on, man, the sun, very bright, man. And you cannot, when I was over there, you could not look at it. It came up in 2 different places on 2 different mornings. You can't see it. It burns your eyeballs. Even if you're just walking like this and the sun's over here, it is burning your eyeballs. Like there's something with it. They're trying to make us all go blind, I think. So, but let me think, because there was something else I wanted to say about, okay. Yeah, so if you are, so at this time, like if you have gotten in a lot of big fights with your family and a lot of really mean things have been said, because I was really sincere with my daughter. Like I knew how much it was going to hurt her when she realized, because I already went through the thing of her being a rotten teenager and then to grow up and be like, realize of the rotten stuff she did as a teenager and come back and apologize for that. So I was like, oh, this is really going to hurt her when she realizes that this stuff she's saying is, you know, mean. And so I was sincere when I said, you know, really, you know, don't feel bad that you've said this stuff, because I know the people are going to feel really, really bad. That's what people don't get. You cannot get away from this shit inside of you. And if you haven't healed some of it, then you won't know that. Like where people think, well, they won't know. They won't see. Oh, yes, they will. And they will not be able to get away from it. It's going to be like this loud, loud voice inside of them. And so, you know, you don't have to force them to see or anything. It's going to be their soul is going to make sure they see when they're supposed to see. And the reason that they've been assholes is so that they can see that side of themselves. So they have to go through that process. And so if you have gotten yourself into this, like, you know, you got all these people in your family that you've all told each other to fuck off. You never want to speak to them again. And they're all assholes and stuff like that. Probably just, you know, keep your distance for now and just keep, you know, working on you and finding the places in yourself that you can get to the point of just releasing what they've said to you. You know, whatever they've said, to really get to that point of feeling good about yourself. So it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. They weren't in a good place. They didn't see. It is very, very much for they know not what they do. So how can you hold it against them? So, and if you have all of this resentment and anger, that's yours to work out. And so let these things happen naturally. Like, don't get all upset, you know, you'll get to those places where you are able to just capture these moments in time where it's just like, it's really cool. It's like what a life is all about. And so you'll get there, but you have to also do the work so you can be present when you're there. And it isn't turning toxic and angry and, you know, so you work on you. And if you go back into a situation, you know, you get invited to something this summer and there's going to be a lot of people there who you haven't talked to, and you go and just go with a smile on your face. You know, let go of stuff from the past. Do what your work to get it to where you're not bothered. So when you go in, you could be having, and it's got to be real. It's got to be authentic. You know, you can't go around like a happy smile and then have a hairpin trigger. You got to be real. You got to really have done the work to really release, to really not care. Your ego is not affected or offended by someone else's perspective or perception of you or an experience. They get to experience it the way they experience it. And it's not your concern. You can let go of it, but you got to do the work to get there. And it is, and there's a lot of releasing, you know, a lot of releasing through your doubt, through childhood trauma, through ways of feeling bad about yourself, then connecting to yourself and beginning to trust yourself, aware of yourself, making changes and directing yourself. Like, it's a whole process to go through. And there is no jumping. There is no, you know, tricking yourself and getting ahead. You know, there's no taking the test and passing. It's about the steps. It's about the actual work. And so when you are doing the work, you know, appreciate it. Don't feel like a burden. And a lot of the, you know, people feel isolated through the spiritual journey, but that is a good thing. You don't need everybody else's voice in your head. You need your voice. You need to hear yours. And if you're having isolation, you could be like me, and you were too concerned about everybody else's voice. You were too concerned about what other people thought. So you had to be isolated so you could just hear your voice, so you could have less noise to work with. And so don't feel bad about that. It's everything, remember, is temporary. Nothing is permanent. Everything is in movement. Everything is always moving. And, you know, but you are directing the energy of the path of which way. That is, you know, I think where people get all on the timeline. I think that the timelines, you have one where you're learning the lessons, and then you have one where you're challenging yourself to know what you've learned. So you're not in the same kind of lessons, because now you have an awareness of it. You are going at life in a more determined, understanding, you know, when something happens, you're not going to fall apart and cry and, oh, God, and oh, why me, and I'm so rotten, you know, and go through the whole thing. Instead, you're like, oh, you're going to just give me a challenge for me, so let's just take some time. I'm not going to freak out. I'm going to think about this a second. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to approach this. I'm going to ask my guides, you know, what am I here to learn about this? What am I here to see? What am I here to understand? And, you know, start approaching life in that manner. And it is way less drama. It's way less trauma. And it's much more, you know, thoughtful and to understand, like, there's going to be something I'm learning from this. There's going to be something, that, an occurrence that needs to happen. And so, you know, it's just a new approach to life. But it is, you know, when you're coming at life from the victim and beat down as a child and feeling like shit, and then you're trying to have relationships and they all just fall apart and it's just toxic, and then you are just frustrated, and, you know, it is, you know, those are the precursors. Those are the learning. Those are, you know, when you go in and you look at the relationships, you'll see, like, ugh, that relationship taught me so much about me. It took me to another level of myself. And so there was a positive thing about this toxic relationship. But when you start being able to face something like that and grow, then you start having a new, you know, a new experience. But, you know, it is going through all of that you know, that's why it is so much about the learning and the growing and the facing yourself, facing your demons, taking time to understand yourself and all of that. There's so much benefit when you do it. And so it is, you know, just, you know, to me, you know, because there's so much. Like if I was talking to somebody one-on-one and they said, well, what about this? What about that? Or whatever. Then you could kind of, but also you got to remember that is my perception. Like you need to always ask your guides, you know, what is it I need to learn from this? What are you trying to show me here? And, but the, you know, just have the awareness that is like, you need to go back to the drawing board of self. So you need to start back at the beginning, back when the trauma began, and start going through, you know, re-encountering, reliving, going through and looking at things. And, you know, it's a process of development, of understanding. And when you're doing it, though, it helps you to not be reactive. So when you take that time in every situation is to start taking the time to think about it and not being reactive. That's a big thing about getting out of being reactive. And that is all lower chakra. And if you're reactive and you're angry and you're upset about shit over, you know, you're going to lose your goddamn mind. You're going to fucking pull people off on the highway and fight them. And then you, you know, you got to find, you know, what is it in you that gets you so hairpin trigger? Why are you so reactive? Because that's lower chakra. That's pain. That's trauma. As you not dealing with stuff, you're very external. You are just reactive and angry. And so you got to notice that in yourself and don't feel shame about it. That's just the way you've reacted to what you've gone through. And so, you know, and then you got to go through, when you're healing that, then you got to go through and heal what you've done to other people. Because that's going to be a part of your process. When you've been angry and reactive and stuff, you've hurt people generally. And so you got to go in and just, you know, forgive yourself and witness, you know, yourself and see like, yeah, I was kind of a dick, man, but I was so in so much pain all the time. I was so hurt and I couldn't face it. I didn't know how to face it. And so these are all your opportunities to face yourself. All this stuff going on is all opportunities to face yourself so that you can heal and grow throughout this process. And I feel really, really excited that all the people who I know are all working on themselves and healing themselves. Even though my mom's waiting on the rapture, she's still, you know, she's, you know, facing things in her relationships. She may not be, you know, in the same place as a 30-year-old who understands about psychology on another level of, you know, when you're almost 80, it's a different approach to life than when you're 30. So no matter where you are in the spectrum, you know, you have your own challenges, you know, to overcome. And it has to do with that generational learning. Like there's generational lesson plans. And so wherever you fell into the learning process, the learning curve in that overall learning, it's like this growth, and somewhere in there you have a part you played as it transitions. And so, you know, like I said, somebody who's 80 has a very different approach to things than somebody who's 30, and everything in between. And so it is all based on your experience, your knowledge, your perspective, your lens. And all lenses have validity because it's all a part of that learning process of that spectrum. It is just as valid what somebody who is 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, every approach has the same significance. There's nobody whose isn't significant and doesn't matter. Everyone's mattering is the same. Everybody's mattering is the same the same currency, is the same value. Everybody's mattering is the same value. Nobody matters over somebody else. Not one soul has more value than another soul. Even though people can, the people give the value. Like they think, oh, well, this person has money, so they have more value. Or this person has this, so they have more value. That's the individual. That's the individual person who needs to go in and prioritize, look at things differently, and to put things into perspective. And so it is, everything on this journey is each individual, is an individual journey to self, but each self has a significant impact, but no self has more impact than the other self. It's an equal. And that is, but the realization is the part that leads us into that sovereignty, you know, and to appreciate yourself, to appreciate your own uniqueness, what you bring to the table. Nobody else in the whole of fucking entire world can bring to the table. Only you. But you have to figure you out in order to realize how unique you are compared to everybody else, because everybody spends so much time trying to fit in. And they'd rather try and fit in with somebody than try and be unique, because nobody wanted to be, you know, the Rudolph. Everybody laughing at him and telling him to go play, you know, he's a weirdo with the red nose. So we all were trying to, you know, put that fake nose on so nobody could see. But it is important to let everybody see. Take that nose off. Let your nose shine. You know, be, you know, whoever you are. And if you are childish, be childish. You know, I'm not talking about be like childish, mean bully. I'm talking about, you know, enjoying life. You know, you don't sit on the ground and play in the dirt with little shovels. Get back down there and do it. You probably didn't get to do it as a child. You know, find that childlike self. You know, let that childlike self come back out and experience the world, because you repressed that self and tried to fit in and tried to find something that was presentable to the world. Now you got to go backwards and find that self that you had shamed and contained, and let that being out so that they can experience. And so, you know, don't be embarrassed if you go back to a childlike state, you know, and want to have, you know, fun, and you want to get out your jump rope. You want to, you know, see how you can hip hop or whatever, jump that, I don't know. There's all sorts of kid games that we had when we were kids, you know, that were fun, that we played, and, you know, being silly and having that part of yourself. You know, so many people try and be so perfect, and they don't want to be silly, and they don't want to be thought of as being, you know, immature. So, you know, but you know, who are you mature for? Are you hiding a part of yourself in this maturity? Because it's up to you to find all those parts of yourself. It's up to you to find out what you're repressing, who you're holding back, who you're trying to hide in there. Because it's time to let that, you know, let the cat out of the bag. Stop trying to hide yourself. Stop trying to please people. Stop trying to be something you're not, and find out who you are. So anyways, that is the challenge for the day. Find out who you are. I think I say that every day. So anyways, but today I'm gonna get a video. I did paint. I got my little tiny patch stuff, and it matched really good. So I patched the paint part. So I'm gonna get a video, but I still got all the wood to clean up. And I have some projects out there now because I have all this wood. Oh, and you know, one of the pieces of wood, because they've all got like these spiders and stuff. I thought this was kind of weird because I picked up this one, and they're so, oh, you know, it was a porch, and then on the underneath part, all of that, so all this wood on the underneath part has all these webs and all this stuff. So this one, I tipped the piece back, and this big old spider, and it was kind of cool because this big ass spider went running over to its, I'm assuming it was its egg sac. And so it ran over and just wanted to protect it. It didn't give a shit if I was moving the wood or whatever. So I turned the wood and tipped it to kind of give it overnight. So hopefully, because the wood's more exposed, it's going to get its little baby sac and take it down and hide it somewhere else. And, but I just thought that was really cool. Like, you know, it's like the birds over there screaming when the cat's trying to get his babies. And the, I just all of a sudden got, if you got that bird seed and stuff, like, you gotta watch out with the stuff that they're selling. Like, there's people, they're feeding it and it's killing everything. So, man, these people are so fucking evil. I swear to God. So hard. As they just, you know, kill the deers, kill the squirrels, kill the birds, kill. That's all they want to do all the time. Just get it down to their few droids on this planet that was... Oh. But the spider, you know, we think nothing has any sense. Everything is just like, you know, props or something. But everything is energy. Everything is alive. Everything is having its own experience. And that mom wants to protect its babies. It understands. And you know what? I gotta fucking say, this is disgusting. There's a lot of weird video, like so much stuff that is just all about that outrage, you know, to wake us up. And all this stuff is to... and then people take it all so serious. But, you know, those people have to take it serious because that's the change. That's it. So I can't judge them. It's just frustrating because I feel like if everybody would just... But that's the frustration of being ahead because I've got to work on patience or whatever. But this is, man, and I'm sure everybody's seen the video. I mean, it's everywhere. This freaking guy who wants to be the first trans to a fetus out, rip it out and throw it away. He wants to be the first one. So he wants everything put inside. He wants the ovaries, the uterus, all this stuff, which I mean, what in the Frankenstein hell is going on with these people? Like, it's so fucking weird. Like, just make me into a lab experiment. That's all I want. And so he wants to get all that put in so that he can have an actual fetus, so he can actually rip it out of his body. That's the respect for life. That's the, like, it's so... But those are the things where people have to see. It's so anti-creation. These people, this energy is like anti-creation. It's anti-nature. It's anti-natural. It's artificial. It's fake. It's kill. Like, and, but that is all the stuff to get people to wake up and question your own moral compass. You know, is how do you feel about things? Like, that's why all this outrageous shit keeps happening. So you can question yourself about how do you feel about things. And so that's the change. Asking yourself the questions. So anyways, I'll talk to you later. Bye.